Hala, iniwan tayo ni Teacher Frank. Pero kinakabahan siguro si Tatay Jojo kung paano ko siya ipapakilala.
Ayan, ayan.
Ayan
Sorry.
na.
Okay, so maraming salamat po ulit kay Teacher Nini sa kanyang discussion tungkol sa STEM. So para naman sa ating second speaker ay narito po si Teacher Jojo mula din sa 7 Indarapatra. At tatalakayin niya ang tungkol sa website development. Okay? Stop ko na rin po yung recording kasi mag-record dito.
Recording stopped.
Hello po. Teacher Frank, kailangan ko mag-share
Yes,
ng
po.
screen kasi I don't have any slides. I'm just going to build the website from scratch, so I could show the
Wow.
kids how to do it. So pwede ba 'yon?
Opo, pwede po.
Okay,
Yung
screen
share screen button po sa lower corner or lower corner.
Yep, I see it. Screen 1. Share. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes po, kita po namin.
Alright. Sorry sa sige, I'm just going to open up tools.
I don't want to see that.
Sorry. Sige, hold on. So hi kids, my name is Tatay Jojo, and today we're going to build a website, and not just any website, but a website that lets you manage your to-do list. Para medyo exciting. Like I said, I don't have any slides, but you're going to watch me build a dynamic website from scratch. The only tools that we will need is a text editor and a browser. Okay, so you can use any text editor or browser you want, but for this demo, I will use VS Code, which you can see on the screen, because it has features that will help us write code much faster, which I'll show you as we go along. It's also free, by the way. You can download it anytime you want, but I don't recommend you following along because we only have a few minutes. But I can provide you source code to anybody who is interested. Maybe I'll send the link later on. Okay, so let's open up a new folder. And I'm gonna save it somewhere here. I'm gonna call it to do. Okay, and after this, let's do a quick tour of VS Code. So this is VS Code. On the left is your file explorer. This will show the list of files. In fact, I'm going to create a new file right now, and I'm going to call it index.html. On the right is your actual editor that you can edit whatever the file is currently selected. All right. So HTML in the file stands for Hypertext Markup Language. You don't have to remember it right now. You don't have to remember it at all. It's just HTML is just there so that the operating system can know how to handle that kind of file. All right. So first, I'm gonna type in HTML. So you can see what VS Code did there. It tries to, so VS Code or any code editor would try to guess what you're trying to do. So in this case, I typed in HTML, and it already suggested some code snippets. Meaning if I type HTML and hit tab, it's going to auto generate the code for me. Another example, if I choose this one and hit tab, it's going to generate a bunch of more code for me. But I'm just going to say HTML, and this right here is the what you call HTML element, the HTML opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag. So the tag consists of like less than or greater than sign, or some people call it angle brackets. So this is HTML. And another important element, HTML element I would want to show you is the body tag. Whatever you put inside the body tag will be displayed in the website itself. So let me show you. I'm just gonna say, for example, I'm gonna say my to-do list, right? H1 is the header, and then maybe, I don't know, a list. UL is an ordered list, and I don't want you to watch me type all this. I'm just gonna paste something in here. So, oh yeah, I'm gonna save it, and before we proceed, I'm gonna show you website. Let's go to, for example, minecraft.net, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. It's gonna take a second. So while it's loading, I would like to take this chance to, number one, say thank you to Raya for giving me and the kids this opportunity. And secondly, I'm so happy that so many kids are interested in learning software development. All right, so here we are at minecraft.net. And when I right click on it and view source, you're going to see a bunch of this. Let me just zoom it in. A bunch of these HTML tags. So there are so many of them. I won't be discussing each and every HTML tags, because that's oops. Hello, can you see me?
Yes
Hello?
po, okay pa
Okay.
po.
Can you see my screen? It says Zoom quit unexpectedly.
Yes po.
Okay. Anyway. Right. So going back to our to-do list. As you can see, you have your HTML, you have your body, much the same way yung Minecraft then. It has all of these elements. But right. So when I save this index.html and I will open it in, oops, what is wrong with my Zoom? I will open it in my file explorer, and this is the browser, I mean the index.html that we just created. Now open it with Google Chrome, right? I'm just gonna arrange my screen. So yan, gonna zoom it in. Right, so this is the H1, my to-do list, and this is the list itself. The UL stands for unordered list, and inside it is LI, which stands for the list, right? So I can also change this to OL, which means ordered list. Let me just briefly show you. And when I click on save and refresh, instead of these bullet symbols, it's gonna change to numbers. But I'm going to change it back to UL, unordered list, because we don't really care about the ordering of the list. All right. So let me just refresh it. So now this is just the list. What I want to do is I want to add like more items to the list. So what I want to do is I want to add a text box and then a add button. So how do we do that? Under the header, I'm gonna say div. Div is just like a container. It's nothing too special about it. I can in fact can't use I cannot I can in fact totally don't use div. It's totally fine. But in this case, I'm just gonna use it. Next is I'm gonna say input text and then a button, right? And I'm gonna say add the button, and I click on save and refresh the browser. I'm gonna see this one. Right now it's just a text box and a button. When I click on add, it's not gonna do anything, right? So let's add. This is where we add some JavaScript code. So let's go back to the code right here. And beside the button, I'm gonna say when the user clicks on me, on click, and I'm gonna say add item. Oops, add item. So what this means is that whenever the user clicks on the button, this add item function will execute. So we haven't defined this yet. We're gonna define it right now. And another HTML element that's important is the script HTML element, or the script tags. So this means whatever code we add here is going to execute in the website. So for example, I can say alert hello world. This is going to show a alert box, and if I hit refresh, there you go. There is the hello world. Okay. At this point, we want to define the add item function. So I'm going to say function, and then the function name, and then open close parentheses, and then the curly brackets. So whatever inside the curly brackets is going to get executed when this function is called. Let's test if it's working. I'm going to say you click this button. So again, when the user clicks on the add button, it's going to execute this function, and then it's going to execute this code inside the function. I'm going to save it and then hit refresh. Now, whenever I click this add button, it's going to, oops, didn't work. This is good because you can see me troubleshoot whatever is not working. Console. Add button click on click. Is it on click? There you go. I don't know what happened there, but I think it wasn't saving, so I think that was it. So when I click on refresh and click on add, there you see it. You click this button, but that's not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to take whatever I typed in here, and when I click on add, I wanted to append to this list down below. So how do I do that? Let's go back to our add item. Please let me know if I'm going too fast so I can slow down. If not, I'll just go ahead with this pace. Okay. So add item. Whenever I click this button, I want to add whatever I typed in here to this list. How do we do that? We can do it using the document.get element by ID. And then I want to get this input field. But it doesn't have any ID yet, so let's define one. Okay, I'm gonna call it ID of new item. Now I'm going to copy that and paste it here, and then I'm gonna store it in a variable called txt. So this syntax, the var, is JavaScript's way of defining variables. Variables is just a kind of like a container that, or a placeholder that you want to store objects. Right? So just to test it out, I can say alert and txt.value. So that this means that when the user clicks on add, I'm gonna get the value of the text box and show it to the user. Let's test it out. Value or my to do item 1. When I click on it, there it is. My to do. Sorry, my kids are trying to get in. All right. So that's that. Now that we are getting the value from the text box, next task is we need to append it to the list. Again, similar to what we did with the variables and all, let's document dot get element by ID, and let's call it the list. And this is our list. ID the list. So we're gonna store it in lst variable, and next thing we want to do is let me just paste some code that I already created, and I'll explain it to you. All right. So once we got the list, we want to create a new li element. This is it. This is the li. We want to create it by code like this, and then we want to set the li's value, or the inner HTML, to the value of this text box. So this is part of the code that does that. And then we want to add the newly created li to the list. Okay. Is that append child? And then we lost the and curly brackets. Let's save it, and let's refresh the browser. And there you go. New list 1, new list 2. But there's I want to improve this, right? Because right now, whenever I create a item and click on add, I want to clear out this text box, diba? So that I can start with a new list. So to do that, since we already have a handle to the text box, we can say txt.value equals empty string. So now whenever I refresh and hit something, as you can see, the text box is already cleared. So that makes the it makes it more user friendly. Another thing is, maybe I want to set focus. Every time I add one, I want to just type in again, so that I don't want to have to click it the text box to be able to type. We can do that by using txt.focus function. And when we reload the page, I can start typing, click on add, clear the screen, and set the focus, and everything is much nicer. See? All right. So we already created the add to do list function, or the feature. Next is I want to be able to complete tasks. When I click on an item, I want it to be able to hold on, can you give me a few seconds? I'm sorry. Just gonna mute this. Just exit. All right. So as I was saying, I want to be able to complete list. When I click on it, I want it to show a strike through what do you call it, font something. So how do we do it? Let me show you how the strike through font decoration looks like. So you can add a S and then the title or the text inside it, and when I hit save and click refresh, it's gonna look like this. It's simple, but it gets the job done. All right, so how do we do that? We can do that by, let's go back to the script again, and I want to capture all of the click events by doing this. Hold on. I already have a code prepared. Where is that? Give me a second. Notes. There you go. So First one is this, and I'll explain it to you line by line. Okay, so every like I mentioned earlier, there's a document object that exists inside all of the HTML documents. When you go through JavaScript, there's already a global document object which you can access. It includes like get element by ID, and also it has a reference to the body, which is this one. This represents the body object in the document object. And then there is an event listener. Now, what this function does is that I want all of the click events. I want to listen to all of the click events in this page. And then whenever a click has happened, I want this function to be called. All right. So, and when it's called, I want, if it's a li, hold on, let me just show you. Gonna click save and hit refresh. When I click on it, this code determines whether the clicked element is an li element or if it's an s element or strike through element. And then if it's an li, it basically toggles the list itself to be a li or to be a strike through element. It's what this part of the code is doing. So as you can see, whenever I click, it toggles it through this code itself. All right, so now that's done. Next is let's see, 22 minutes in. All right. Next is we have a problem right here, because whatever we do at the with this list, whenever I add some items, I'm gonna add a bunch of them, and I click and I complete a bunch of them. The problem is whenever we refresh the page, it's all going to be reset. Our changes are gone. That's because what's left is the one we declared in here. That happens because we don't save those changes. So in order for us to solve that, is we need to store all of those changes into a database. A database is something that it's just where you store your data. In this example, we're gonna use in this demo we're going to use a built-in local storage of JavaScript. And let me just show you. First thing we need to do is we need to define a variable, a global variable that will hold all of our items. Diba? We can do this on the top of the script, and there's your to-do items. Like I said, declaring variables in JavaScript is by the use of using var. There's also other forms of declaring JavaScript which you don't have to learn right now, but this is gonna be fine for now for this purpose. So to do items, and then equal sign, and then this square brackets is basically is your empty list. All right, and then for the add, whenever we add items, I want the newly added item to be stored in this list. Let's go to add items function, and then let's say to do items dot push. So push is when you insert the items on the bottom of the list. I'm gonna say let's push a let's call it name. Oh no, text, just text. And we're gonna store the value of the text box, which is stored in txt.value. And then I'm also gonna store the is completed, whether or not this task has been completed. Is it strike through? It's strike through if it's completed, and not if it's just plain list, right? So it's false by default because it's newly added. It's not completed yet. And then this is where the database comes in. This is where local storage comes in. So JavaScript has built-in local storage. And I'm gonna say set item, and I'm gonna call this list whatever it is stored to do. So every time we need to reference the local storage or the to do items in the local storage, we call it to do. And we need to JSON stringify it, meaning these to do items is stored in memory as a bunch of bytes. It's not readable really by human beings. We need to convert it into a string and then store that string into the local storage. Basically, we're just converting it to string. That's all it is. That's all this JSON stringify is doing. I'm gonna say to do items, and then that's it. So again, whenever the user clicks on add, it's going to add it to this list in the UI, and then it's going to add it to our global variable to do items, and then it's going to store it in a database. All right. So we're not really going to see it. If I refresh my page, we can't really see it on the UI, but later on I'll show you how we could see it on the screen. But for now, I also want to save all of the changes when we complete the to-do list. So when I click on the items, it's being striked out. I want to store that changes in the database as well. So how do we do that? We go to the click event of the items, of the list items, and then we need to add some code to it. Let's see, already here. Here we go. Oops. All right. Let me just click save, and let me close this one. So what does this do? If we click on the list, if we click on a list that's not completed, because this code is a branch of, if it's not completed, then do this. If it's already completed, then do that. So let's take a look at the first one. We find, for example, when I click on study for 1 hour, now the code looks for this study for 1 hour text and looks it up in the global to do items, and then when found, it sets the is completed value to true, and then it stores it in our database. And then this one updates the UI. We already saw that earlier. Much the same way, this is pretty much the same thing down on the other if branch, but we set the is completed to false. Now I just duplicated the code for simplicity, but that's what it's doing. This one, what does this do? This is extra code. Okay, I can remove this. Okay, so let's test it out. We don't see it right now, but there's no error. All right, so how do we see it? How do we see those changes? Because if I refresh this page, it's just also going to reset it, right? I click on a bunch of stuff, and when I refresh the page, it just resets it still. Like 29 minutes in. All right, so what we have to do is, upon loading of the web page, we need to read from that database and restore those values. First thing we need to do is we need to delete this. Okay, and now when I refresh it, it's gone. There's no more list. And then we need to add a function that will execute whenever the page is first loaded. We can do that by creating a function towards the end of the script tag. this function will execute if the page loads, because of this it's called iffy. It's kind of a technical term, but it if you lose this, if you drop this, it's not going to execute automatically. It's just there for that purpose. So to test this, I can say hello world and initial load. Say initial load. Save it and then refresh. There you go. It says initial load, and then it's going to proceed to update the whole document. All right. So we need to number one is we need to read the local storage, the value in the local storage, and store it in our to-do items. This is what it does. JSON.parse is the equivalent of the, or not equivalent, just the counterpart for the JSON.stringify. If JSON.stringify converts your objects into strings, JSON.parse is the other way around. Okay, next is, now that we have all of those items in our global variable, we can then process those global variable to convert it into HTML. This is the code to do that. Okay, so this line right here, list, you already seen this up above. List, when we want to get a handle to the list itself. And then this is new. You've seen it the first time this session. So for is lets you loop when you want to do a loop in JavaScript. This is one of the constructs that you can use. What it does is for each of the to-do items, we're gonna count from 0, and if that count is less than the list of items, it's gonna proceed, and then it's going to add the counter. It's going to increment the counter by 1. This is what it does. All right. So, and then inside each iteration, inside each loop, we're going to create a new li element, and then set its text or its content, and then append it on the list. Let's see how that would work. If I refresh it, now it's now working, and then when I add a bunch of other stuff, and if I reload it, it's still there. You see, I'm clicking on the reload button. So now our list is almost working, except that there's still a problem. Whenever I click on and whenever I complete some tasks, it's not gonna stick. Whenever we refresh it, it still resets. So we need to add more code into our onload function. So what we need to do is whenever we load the list, we need to check whether if it's already completed or not. Remember, we have the is completed field. So we can add a if statements. So if the current item in the loop, if the current item is already completed, then what you can if it's already completed, you need to create a li with a strike through element in it, so it's strike through, and then if it's not, it's just the normal li element. And when we refresh the page, as you can see, it's already, all of them are already done. I'm going to undo 2 of them and hit refresh. Now it's the changes are sticking. All right, so at this point, it looks like our to-do list is already functional. We can add new stuff. We can complete some of them, and the values are being persisted or being saved. Next is we want to make it another HTML element I want to introduce at this point is the style element, because our design is pretty bare.
Sir Jojo,
Yes.
sorry po. I think we will have to stop you right there
Okay.
because
Okay,
we
sige.
are about to end na po.
Sige po. Let me just wrap this up. Ano. So I want to just say a few takeaways from this session. Mainly uh all I want to say is that programming is like a puzzles game, and I'm like I mentioned, I'm so happy that many kids in Raya is interested. Programming is like a puzzles game, so and what you have to do is, I mean, what you really want to do is enjoy it, and once you enjoy it, and when you get a job, doing this, you'll never work a single day in your life. And yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Jojo. Since we're running out of time, I'm going to go and summarize some key questions presented during the talk.
Okay.
So I have a few questions from some kids asking, what are the basic programming tools you will need? So someone asked, can I use Microsoft Word, Sublime Text 3, or Inspect Element? Or what are examples of basic programming tools that we can use?
Don't use Microsoft Word, because when you save it, it's in a different format. It's not plain text. You can use Sublime. You can use any other text editor, like I mentioned in the when we started. So that's it. For this demo, I used VS Code because it's a code editor. It helps me write code faster. But yeah, any text editor, you can use any text editor. Yeah.
What are some sources that I can use to get into coding?
Sources. There's number one source is Google. So aside from the key takeaway that the takeaway that I mentioned a few moments ago, one of the tips that I could give you is to improve your Google skills. So this is going to be really helpful if you are going to enter this field. Or if you are going into programming, Google search is really a really great skill to have. So Google is the answer.
Okay. What does it take to be employed in this field?
Oh my God, what does it take to be employed? This is good answer. Question. Sorry. All it takes is interest and curiosity. If you are in this field, you have to be a lifelong student. I mean, I've been in this industry for 18 years, and there's still so many much to learn because new stuff are coming up. You have your blockchain, you have your AI, and all of those. So as long as you have that mentality, being a lifelong student kind of mentality, then you are gonna see the benefits of that.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Jojo. I think I have one last question here. It's a very interesting question. What makes a person vulnerable on the internet, and what are your views on cybersecurity?
What makes a person vulnerable on the internet, and what are views on cybersecurity? Well, for the first question, I think everybody is vulnerable if they log in as admin in their own machine. So as much as possible, when you create your new machine, you set aside an admin and don't never use it unless you really need to, and then you just log in as a regular user. That's one way of preventing attacks. And for the other question, what are my views on cybersecurity? Well, what are my views on cybersecurity? It's a rather broad question, and I'll just try to answer it. Like, let's see. Does the student want to enter like into cybersecurity, or is it more like a I don't know. Well, my views. Let's see. My views on cybersecurity is, you know what? I don't know. I can't without specific questions. I can't say. I can say what my views are. So sorry.
No problem po, Teacher Jojo. So thank you so much, Teacher Jojo, for that very in-depth analysis on how to create a website. Palakpakan po natin si Teacher Jojo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Teacher Pam, do you have anything to add? Yes po. Sige, inis natin Teacher Pam. Teacher Pam, go ahead.
Salamat po sa pagtanggap po sa aming imbitasyon. Wait lang. Ayan. At sana marami tayong natutuhan o na-refresh man kung meron na tayong kaalaman, lalong-lalo na sa STEM at sa computer science. At sana naging interesado rin talaga kayo na pasukin ang kanilang mundo. Grabe, na-amaze talaga ako. Kasi sa picture ko lang talaga nakikita yung mga code. Hindi pa ako nakapanood kung paano siya ginagawa. So, ayan, pwede kayo mag-share ng inyong mga natutuhan or kung ano pa yung mga concern o mga tanong ninyo ay sabihin nyo lang sa amin. Kami na yung magpapaabot kina Nanay Nini at Tatay Jojo. Muli, maraming salamat po. At para sa huling part, okay lang ba na mag-on tayo saglit ng mga camera? Yan, para may picture tayo kasama sila. Pero si Teacher CJ ang magpi-picture.
Hello, ayan. Ready? Dalawang take tayo kasi 2 frames. Ready? Smile! 1, 2, 3. Wait lang po.